The massive space station hung in the darkness like a metal city. Ships from 47 different alien worlds crowded around it, each one sleeker and faster than the last. Their hulls shimmered with strange colors. Their engines hummed with power that could tear through space itself. Then came the human ship. The Taeguk arrived 6 hours late. It moved through space like a wounded elephant, slow and heavy. Its hull was thick and gray, covered in armor plating that made it look ancient. While other ships danced through the void with grace, the Taeguk simply trudged forward, one painful kilometer at a time. Captain Do-hyun Kang sat in his command chair, watching the view screen. He could see the alien vessels moving around them. Some were the size of city blocks. Others were small and quick like silver fish. All of them were faster than his ship. Much faster. Captain, we're receiving multiple hails, said Minho, the young communications officer. His voice was steady, but Do-hyun could hear the nervousness underneath. Most of them are laughing. Do-hyun nodded slowly. He had expected this. Ignore them. Take us to the docking port. Commander Yuna stood beside his chair, her arms crossed. She stared at the screen with cold eyes. They think we're a joke. Let them think that, Do-hyun said quietly. The docking procedure took another hour. Other ships could dock in minutes, but the Taeguk was built for different purposes. Finally, with a heavy clang, the connection was complete. The crew prepared to meet the galaxy. The grand arrival hall was enormous. It stretched up so high that Do-hyun couldn't see the ceiling. Thousands of aliens filled the space, representing every corner of known space. Some walked on two legs like humans. Others floated or crawled or moved in ways that hurt to watch. When Captain Do-hyun entered with his crew, the noise in the hall changed. Laughter rippled through the crowd like waves. A tall alien with purple skin and 4 arms approached them. Its face held an expression that looked like a smile but wasn't friendly. Ah, the humans have finally arrived. We thought perhaps your vessel had broken down. More laughter echoed through the hall. Do-hyun kept his face neutral. I am Captain Do-hyun Kang of Earth. We're here for the Defense Summit. Yes, the alien said, waving one of its hands dismissively. Come, the assembly is waiting. Though I warn you, they are not patient. The presentation chamber was a circular room with seats rising up on all sides. Hundreds of alien representatives sat watching as Do-hyun walked to the center platform. A holographic display appeared beside him, ready to show his ship's specifications. An alien that looked like it was made of living crystal spoke first. Its voice sounded like breaking glass. Present your vessel's capabilities, human. Do-hyun activated the display. The Taeguk appeared in 3 dimensions, rotating slowly. Numbers scrolled beside it. The Taeguk is Earth's first deep space military vessel, he began. It measures 847 meters in length. It carries a crew of 63. Its faster-than-light drive achieves 12 times the speed of light. The chamber erupted in noise. Aliens turned to each other, their various methods of communication creating a chaos of sound. An alien that resembled a floating jellyfish spoke up. Did you say 12? 12 times light speed? That is correct. Our cargo haulers move at 50 times light speed, the jellyfish alien said. Our fighters reach 200. You bring us a vessel that cannot even match our slowest transports? More laughter. Do-hyun waited for it to die down. The Taeguk also carries heavy armor and a primary weapon system, he continued. The hologram showed the ship's main gun. A long barrel extending from the bow. An alien that looked like a lizard covered in metal scales leaned forward. This was Vex Thalan, leader of the Viridian hegemony. His voice dripped with scorn. One weapon, one? My fighters carry 16 weapon ports each. Your ship is an insult to this assembly. Our weapon is sufficient, Yuna said, speaking for the first time. Her voice cut through the noise like a knife. Vex Thalan's eyes focused on her. Sufficient? Child, your people have just entered the galactic stage. You know nothing of space warfare. That ship would be destroyed in seconds. Do-hyun felt the moment slipping away. Earth had spent 15 years building the Taeguk. Years of resources, research, and hope. And now the galaxy was laughing at them. Then another voice spoke. It was deep and rumbling like an avalanche. Perhaps a demonstration would settle this. Everyone turned. A massive alien stood up from the back rows. It looked like a bear crossed with a rhino, standing 3 meters tall. War Master Kryn of the Dravok Armada. His species valued strength above all else. A demonstration? Vex Thalan asked. Yes, Kryn rumbled. The humans claim their vessel is capable. Let them prove it. In 3 days, we hold a combat exercise. The human ship against 3 of my corvettes. If they survive even 5 minutes, perhaps they deserve consideration. Do-hyun felt every eye in the chamber turn toward him. This was a trap. Everyone knew it. 3 Dravok corvettes were among the fastest ships in the galaxy. They could run circles around the Teguk, but refusing would mean Earth's petition would be denied immediately. They would return home in shame, with nothing gained. We accept, Do-hyun said. The chamber fell silent for a moment. Then the noise returned, louder than before. Aliens were already placing bets, already discussing how quickly the human ship would fall. As the assembly dismissed, a smaller alien approached Yuna. It had smooth gray skin and large, intelligent eyes. Commander, I am Ambassador Keela of the Ashiran Collective. May I speak with you privately? Yuna glanced at Do-hyun. He nodded. They moved to a quiet corner of the hallway outside the chamber. Keela studied Yuna with those large eyes. I mean no offense, but I must ask. Why would Earth send such a vessel? Surely you knew how it would be received. Yuna smiled slightly. Ambassador, do you know the story of the tortoise and the hare? I do not. It's an old human tale. A fast rabbit challenges a slow tortoise to a race. The rabbit is confident, mocking the tortoise for being slow. But the rabbit is so confident that it doesn't take the race seriously. The tortoise, slow but steady, wins. Keela tilted its head. You are saying your ship is the tortoise? I'm saying that sometimes being slow means you have time to be careful, time to be certain. The fastest runner doesn't always win. Keela considered this. Interesting philosophy. I hope you live long enough to prove it. That evening, aboard the Teguk, the crew gathered in the weapons bay. Lieutenant Ji-hoon stood before the main gun, his hands moving over control panels covered in human writing. 3 days, he muttered. They gave us 3 days. Hana, the science officer, stood beside him with her tablet. The calculations are ready. We just need the targeting solution when the time comes. And if we're destroyed before we can fire? Someone asked. Do-hyun entered the bay. The crew immediately stood straighter. He walked to the main gun and placed his hand on its cold metal surface. This weapon took us 5 years to build, he said quietly. The theory behind it took 10 years before that. Humanity doesn't have the resources to build fast ships. We can't compete with species that have traveled the stars for thousands of years. So we did something different. We built something they've never seen before. He turned to face his crew. In 3 days, the galaxy will watch us. They expect us to fail. They expect to laugh at us. But we're going to show them something. We're going to show them that humans don't give up, that we don't need to be the fastest to be the best. Ji-hoon smiled. They have no idea what's coming, do they? No, Do-hyun said. They really don't. Outside the ship, alien news networks were already broadcasting. The betting odds were posted on every station. 500 to 1 against the humans surviving. Some were already calling it the shortest battle in galactic history. The countdown began. 3 days until the demonstration. 3 days until the galaxy learned its first lesson about humanity. Never judge a book by its cover. And never ever assume that slow means weak. The briefing room aboard the Teguk was small and plain. No fancy alien technology here, just human screens and simple chairs. Captain Do-hyun sat at the head of the table while his senior officers gathered around. 2 days until the demonstration, he said. I want everyone to understand exactly what we're dealing with. Hana, explain it to them. Dr. Hana stood up and activated the wall screen. A diagram of space appeared, showing the Teguk and 3 small dots representing the Dravok corvettes. The problem is simple, she began. In space combat, speed is king. The faster you move, the harder you are to hit. The Dravok corvettes can accelerate to 8% of light speed in minutes. They can change direction almost instantly. Traditional weapons can't keep up with that kind of movement. So how do we fight them? Minho asked. Hana smiled. We don't fight them the way they expect. We don't try to chase them. We don't try to predict their next move. We calculate where they will be, and we put a bullet there first. She changed the display. Now it showed complex mathematical formulas scrolling past. Most weapon systems aim at where a target is right now. By the time the shot reaches that location, the target has moved. It's like trying to catch a fly with your hand. You grab where you see it, but it's already gone. So we aim ahead of them? Someone asked. Not exactly, Hana said. We calculate every possible factor. Their speed, their acceleration, their turning radius, their engine power output, even the gravitational pull of nearby objects. We feed all of this into our targeting computer. Then it doesn't guess where they'll be. It knows where they'll be. Yuna spoke up. Show them the test footage. Hana nodded and changed the screen again. Now it showed a recording from Earth, taken a year ago. A small drone flew through space, twisting and turning randomly. The camera angle shifted to show the Taeguk in the distance. Watch, carefully, Hana said. For 17 seconds, nothing happened. Then a flash of light erupted from the Taeguk's main gun. The image zoomed in on the drone. It continued flying for several more seconds, still twisting through evasive maneuvers. Then it simply exploded. One moment it was there. The next moment, only debris remained. What hit it? Someone asked. I didn't see anything. Exactly, Ji-hoon said, standing up. You didn't see it because it was moving at 15% of light speed. The human eye can't track that. The drone's sensors couldn't even detect it coming. He walked to the front of the room. Our weapon fires a 2-ton tungsten rod. We accelerate it using electromagnetic railgun technology. When it hits a target at that speed, the kinetic energy is enormous. The drone didn't just break apart. The impact turned it into plasma. Do-hyun watched his crew's faces. Some looked impressed. Others looked worried. But there's a cost, Ji-hoon continued. The targeting computer needs time, anywhere from 30 to 90 seconds, depending on the distance and the target's movement. In a real battle, that's forever. The enemy will be shooting at us the whole time. That's where the armor comes in, Yuna said. While they're laughing at how slow we are, while they're shooting at us thinking we're helpless, we're calculating. We just need to survive long enough to take the shot. Minho raised his hand hesitantly. But what if we miss? Silence filled the room. Ji-hoon looked at the young officer seriously. If we miss, we die, he said simply. The weapon takes 40 minutes to recharge. We won't get a second chance. The room fell quiet. Everyone understood now. This wasn't like human warfare where soldiers could retreat and regroup. In space, there was nowhere to hide. One shot. That's all they would get. Do-hyun stood up. I want to show you all something. Come with me. He led them through the corridors of the ship until they reached a small observation window. Through it, they could see the alien station and the thousands of ships surrounding it. 2 years ago, I wasn't a ship captain, Do-hyun said. I was a physicist. I taught at a university. I had a quiet life, a good life. Then Earth discovered we weren't alone in the universe. He pointed at the alien ships. When we first made contact, we were excited. We thought we'd join the galactic community as equals. But then we learned the truth. We were centuries behind in technology. Our fastest ships were jokes to them. Our weapons were primitive. We had nothing they wanted, nothing they needed. The assembly rejected our first petition, Yuna added. They said humanity was too backward to be taken seriously. They said we should develop for another few hundred years and then try again. Do-hyun turned to face his crew. But Earth couldn't wait. We learned that there are wars out here, conflicts between species, entire worlds destroyed, and we realized that if we didn't earn a place at the table, someone might decide Earth was in the way. So they built this ship, Hana said softly. They built this ship, Do-hyun agreed. They took every scientist, every engineer, every resource we could spare. And they asked one question. What can humanity do that no one else has done? We couldn't build the fastest ship. We couldn't build the strongest shields, but we could build the most accurate weapon ever created. He looked at each of them in turn. In 2 days, we're going to face 3 ships designed to kill. They're faster than us. They're more maneuverable than us. By every traditional measure, we should lose, but we're not going to lose. Do you know why? Because we're human, Ji-hoon said. Because we're human, Do-hyun repeated. Humans have always found ways to win against impossible odds. We're problem solvers, we're survivors, and we're about to teach the galaxy what that means. The crew stood a little straighter. The fear was still there, but now something else was there too. Pride, determination. Everyone to your stations, Do-hyun ordered. We have 2 days to prepare. Let's make them count. Over the next 48 hours, the Taeguk became a hive of activity. Ji-hoon spent every waking moment fine-tuning the targeting computer. He ran simulation after simulation, testing the program against every possible evasive maneuver. Hana worked with him, calculating the gravitational fields of the combat zone. Even the tiniest variation could throw off their shot. She measured everything 3 times, then measured it again. Yuna drilled the crew on damage control procedures. When the Dravok corvettes opened fire, the Taeguk would take hits. Systems would fail. People might get hurt. Everyone needed to know their emergency procedures perfectly. Minho studied everything he could find about Dravok combat tactics. He watched recordings of their previous battles, looking for patterns. Any tiny bit of information might help. On the second night before the demonstration, Ji-hoon found himself alone in the weapons bay. It was late, by ship time. Most of the crew was sleeping, but he couldn't sleep. He kept running through the calculations in his mind. Footsteps echoed behind him. Captain Do-hyun entered, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Can't sleep either?" he asked, offering 1 cup to Ji-hoon. "No, sir." Ji-hoon took the coffee gratefully. "I keep thinking about what happens if the calculations are wrong, if I made a mistake somewhere." Do-hyun leaned against the wall. "You know what I think about when I can't sleep? I think about all the people on Earth who are counting on us. Billions of them. They built this ship with their taxes, their labor, their hopes. They're all watching us now." "That doesn't help me sleep, sir." Do-hyun laughed softly. "No, I suppose it doesn't. But here's what else I think about. I think about how humanity spent thousands of years stuck on one planet. We dreamed about the stars, but we couldn't reach them. Then we finally did. And now we're here, about to face down some of the galaxy's finest warriors. That's pretty amazing when you think about it." Ji-hoon smiled. "Put that way, it does sound better." "The calculations will work," Do-hyun said. "I've seen your work. I know how many times you've checked it. But even if something goes wrong, even if we miss, we'll have shown them something important. We'll have shown them that humans don't back down. Even when we should? Especially then." The morning of the demonstration arrived. The crew assembled in the command center, each person at their station. Through the view screen, they could see the combat zone. It was a cleared area of space, 5 million kilometers from the station. Thousands of alien ships formed a perimeter around it, ready to watch the show. "Captain," Minho said, "we're receiving a message from War Master Kryn." "Put it through." The alien's face appeared on screen. Even through the translation, Do-hyun could hear the confidence in his voice. "Human Captain, this is your final chance. Withdraw now with dishonor but alive. My corvettes are crewed by some of our finest warriors. They will not hold back." Do-hyun looked at Yuna. She nodded once. "War Master Kryn, thank you for your concern. But we're not here to run away. We'll see you in the combat zone." Kryn's expression showed surprise, then something that might have been respect. "Very well. May your death be swift." The screen went dark. "All hands," Do-hyun announced over the ship's intercom. "This is the captain. In a few minutes, we enter the combat zone. Some of you are afraid. That's good. Fear keeps you sharp, but don't let fear control you. Remember your training. Trust your equipment. Trust each other. And remember that win or lose, we're making history today. The galaxy will remember the Taeguk. Let's make sure they remember us as warriors, not cowards." He looked at his crew one final time. Young faces, nervous faces, determined faces. This was Earth's finest. The Taeguk began moving toward the combat zone, slow as always. The combat zone was empty space, but it felt crowded. Thousands of alien vessels ringed the area. Their sensors pointed inward. News drones floated everywhere, recording from every angle. The entire galaxy was watching. The 3 Dravok corvettes entered first. They moved in perfect formation, their silver hulls catching the light from a distant star. Even from far away, Do-hyun could see how graceful they were. They danced through space like birds in flight. Then came the Taeguk. Slow, heavy, clumsy. The contrast was painful to watch. "All stations report ready," Yuna said from her position. Do-hyun nodded. "Ji-hoon, how's our targeting computer?" "Online and calibrated, sir. Ready when you are." "Good. Remember, everyone, the plan is simple. We let them shoot first. We take the damage. We survive long enough to get our shot. That's all we need to do. Minho spoke up, his voice tight with stress. Captain, I'm receiving hundreds of messages from the watching ships. Most of them are betting on how long we last. What are the odds? Most think we'll be destroyed in under 2 minutes. Dohyun allowed himself a small smile. Then let's surprise them. Open a channel to War Master Kryn. The Dravok commander's face appeared on the screen. He was aboard one of the watching ships, not in the corvettes themselves. This was beneath his personal attention. Human captain. When you are ready, we begin. We're ready, Dohyun said. Very well. May your ancestors welcome you. Kryn made a gesture and the screen went dark. For a moment, nothing happened. The two forces faced each other across empty space. The Taeguk alone and slow. The 3 corvettes fast and deadly. Then the battle began. The Dravok corvettes exploded into motion. They spread out instantly, forming a wide triangle around the Taeguk. Their engines flared bright blue as they accelerated. Within seconds, they were moving at speeds that made them blur. Evasive maneuvers, Dohyun ordered. The Taeguk began to turn. Slowly. So slowly, it was like watching a mountain try to dodge a bullet. The first plasma bolts hit their shields. The command center shook slightly. Warning lights blinked on. Shields at 90%, someone called out. More plasma bolts came in. The Dravok corvettes were firing constantly now, their weapons painting bright lines across space. They moved in patterns, never staying in one place, never giving the Taeguk a clear target. Shields at 75%. Dohyun gripped his chair. This was the dangerous part. They had to take damage. Had to look vulnerable. But if they took too much damage too fast, they'd be destroyed before they could fire. Ji-hoon, start the targeting solution. Already running, sir. Tracking all 3 targets. Calculating optimal firing solution. The Taeguk shuddered as more plasma hit them. The shields were designed to protect against this kind of attack, but they weren't infinite. Each hit drained them a little more. Shields failing, Yuna reported. Hull armor exposed. The next volley of plasma fire hit their bare hull. The sound was different now, more immediate. Alarms began to sound throughout the ship. Hull breach on deck 3. Sealing bulkheads. Fire in engineering section 2. Damage control teams responding. The command center filled with the sounds of crisis. Red lights flashed everywhere. The air started to smell like burning plastic. 62 seconds, Ji-hoon called out, his voice cutting through the chaos. I need 62 more seconds for a clean solution. Dohyun watched the view screen. The Dravok corvettes were everywhere at once, moving so fast they seemed to teleport. Their weapons never stopped firing. They were professional, efficient, and utterly confident. They thought they'd already won. More hull breaches. Decks 4 and 5. Secondary explosion in the port engine room. Medical teams to deck 3. The Taeguk was being torn apart piece by piece. Smoke filled the corridors. People were hurt. Systems were failing. This was what the galaxy expected. This was what they'd come to see. 50 seconds, Ji-hoon said. Outside, on the alien viewing ships, commentators were already declaring the battle over. The human ship was crippled. Its shields were gone. Its armor was breached. Any second now, a shot would hit something critical and the Taeguk would explode. But inside the command center, Dohyun sat calm. His hands didn't shake. His voice didn't waver. Status on the main weapon? Charged and ready, sir, Ji-hoon replied. Just need the solution. Keep calculating. More plasma bolts hammered into them. A support beam fell from the ceiling, narrowly missing one of the crew. Sparks showered down from damaged electrical systems. 40 seconds. The Taeguk tried to turn again, trying to point its bow toward the nearest corvette. But it was so slow. The corvette simply moved aside, laughing in its own way, and continued firing. Captain, we're losing structural integrity on the port side, Yuna shouted over the alarms. One more concentrated hit there and we'll lose the entire section. Noted, Ji-hoon. 35 seconds. A massive impact rocked the ship. Everyone was thrown sideways. Dohyun's head hit his armrest hard enough to see stars. When his vision cleared, he saw blood floating in the air from someone's split lip. What was that? They're coordinating their fire now, Yuna said, pulling herself back to her station. All 3 corvettes firing at the same spot. They're going for the kill, Hana added. Dohyun understood. The Dravok had shown off enough. Now they wanted to finish this quickly, efficiently. They were professional warriors. They saw no reason to drag out the execution. 25 seconds, another coordinated strike. The ship groaned, the sound of metal being torn. More alarms, more damage reports. Do-hyun stopped listening to them. They didn't matter anymore. Only one thing mattered. 20 seconds. The corvettes regrouped, forming a line. They were going to hit the same spot all at once. The Taeguk's armor couldn't take another hit like that. Everyone in the command center knew it. This was the moment. Win or die. 15 seconds. Do-hyun looked at Yuna. She looked back at him. Neither of them said anything. They didn't need to. 10 seconds, the corvettes began their final attack run. Their weapons charged for one massive combined shot. On the viewing ships, aliens leaned forward in anticipation. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2. A single tone sounded in the command center. It was clean and pure, cutting through all the alarms and chaos. Ji-hoon's fingers flew across his controls. Solution achieved. Target lock confirmed.
Target Alpha.
Firing authorization requested. Every eye turned to Do-hyun. The captain looked at the view screen one more time. The Dravok corvettes were still coming, weapons blazing. He thought about Earth, about his old life as a teacher, about the billions of people watching this moment, about the 15 years of work that had gone into building this ship and this weapon. Fire, he said. The Taeguk fired. The ship shuddered, but it was different from when they'd been hit. This was the recoil of their own weapon. The electromagnetic railgun released its fury in a fraction of a second. The tungsten penetrator left the barrel at 15% of light speed. It was invisible to the naked eye. The only sign of its passage was a brief distortion in space, like heat waves on a summer road. The Dravok corvettes didn't know they were dead yet. They continued their attack run, still firing, still confident. 19 seconds passed. To the crew of the Taeguk, it felt like 19 years. They watched the view screen in absolute silence. Even the alarms seemed quiet now. The corvettes kept flying. Still alive, still dangerous. Then, without warning, Corvette Alpha exploded. But exploded wasn't the right word. It didn't blow up like ships did in movies. Instead, it simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, a sleek silver vessel flying through space. The next moment, there was only an expanding cloud of gas and debris. The penetrator had passed completely through the ship at such incredible speed that the kinetic energy transfer was total. The corvette's armor might as well have been paper. Its shields might as well have been air. The laws of physics cared about neither. The two remaining corvettes broke formation immediately. They scattered in opposite directions, their attack run forgotten. Their weapons went silent. In the viewing ships, absolute silence fell. Thousands of aliens sat frozen, unable to process what they'd just seen. The human ship, slow and crippled and supposedly defeated, had just destroyed one of the finest corvettes in the Dravok armada with a single shot. War Master Krin's voice crackled over every speaker.
Cease fire!
Cease fire! Exercise complete. The remaining corvettes needed no encouragement. They were already fleeing, their engines pushed to maximum. They wanted distance between themselves and that slow human ship. All the distance they could get. In the command center of the Taeguk, no one spoke for a long moment. Then someone started laughing. Someone else joined in. Soon the entire crew was laughing and crying and hugging each other. They'd done it. Against impossible odds, they'd done it. Yuna approached Do-hyun's chair. Her face was streaked with dirt and blood, but she was smiling. Captain, the remaining corvettes are requesting permission to withdraw from the combat zone. Granted, Do-hyun said. His voice was hoarse from smoke inhalation. I think they've seen enough. Sir, we're receiving thousands of hails from the viewing ships, Minho reported. Everyone wants to know how we did that. They're calling it impossible. Tell them, Do-hyun paused, thinking. Tell them it's math. Simple human math. Through the view screen, they could see the debris field where Corvette Alpha had been. It was still expanding, still glowing with residual heat. The journey back to the station took 3 hours. The Taeguk limped through space, leaving a trail of debris and leaking fluids behind it. But it was moving under its own power, and that was what mattered. Inside, damage control teams worked frantically. The ship had taken a terrible beating. Hull breaches were sealed with emergency patches. Fires were extinguished. Injured crew members were treated in the medical bay. But despite all the damage, everyone wore smiles. They had won. As the Taeguk approached the docking bay, Do-hyun looked at the view screen. Something had changed. The alien ships that had been moving around with casual confidence before were now keeping their distance. They gave the human vessel a wide berth as if it might suddenly turn and fire. "Captain," Minho said quietly, "you need to see this." He put the alien news broadcasts on the main screen. Hundreds of channels, all showing the same thing. The moment Corvette Alpha died. They played it over and over in slow motion, from every angle. Alien commentators spoke rapidly in their various languages, all clearly shocked. "They're calling it impossible," Minho translated. "They're saying our weapon violates the laws of physics. Some are claiming it's a trick that we used hidden technology." Yuna snorted. "A trick that destroyed a Dravok corvette? Good luck selling that." The docking procedure was silent. No mocking hails this time. No laughter. When the clamps finally connected and the airlock opened, Captain Do-hyun led his crew into the station. The reception was very different from before. Hundreds of aliens filled the docking bay, but this time they weren't laughing. They stood in complete silence, watching the humans walk past. Some stared openly. Others looked away as if afraid to make eye contact. Ambassador Keela was the first to approach. The small gray alien bowed its head respectfully. "Captain Do-hyun, that was most impressive." "Thank you, Ambassador. I must ask, and I know many others will as well. How many shots does your weapon need to destroy a ship of larger size? A cruiser, perhaps? Or a battleship?" Do-hyun's answer was simple and honest. "One." The ambassador's large eyes grew even wider. "One shot? The size of the target doesn't matter. If we can calculate its trajectory, we can hit it. And if we hit it at that speed, the kinetic energy does the rest." Keela looked like it wanted to ask more questions, but movement caught everyone's attention. War Master Kryn was approaching, his massive form pushing through the crowd. The Dravok warrior stopped in front of Do-hyun. For a long moment, he simply stared down at the human captain. Do-hyun stood his ground, refusing to be intimidated. Then Kryn did something unexpected. He lowered his head in a slight bow. "Human captain, I owe you an apology. I called your vessel inadequate. I was wrong." "You were doing what you thought was right," Do-hyun said. "No apology needed." Nevertheless, Kryn straightened up. "My people value strength above all else. Today you showed strength. Not in speed or numbers, but in certainty. In, what is your word? Precision. That is also a form of strength." He paused, then asked the question that clearly troubled him. "How many ships like the Taeguk does Earth possess?" Do-hyun hesitated. This was dangerous ground, but lying would be worse. The Taeguk is our only deep space vessel. We spent 15 years building it. We're a young species, War Master. We don't have the resources for more. Not yet. Kryn's laugh was bitter. "One ship. You have changed the entire balance of galactic power with one ship." He shook his massive head. "Remarkable. And terrifying." The Galactic Assembly convened an emergency session 3 hours later. The circular chamber was packed. Every species wanted to speak, to have their say about what had just happened. Vex Thalan was the first to rise. The Viridian leader's voice was sharp with anger. "This weapon the humans possess is barbaric. It gives no chance for honor in combat. No opportunity for skill to matter. It is simply murder at a distance." "You mean it's effective?" someone else called out. Laughter rippled through the chamber. Vex Thalan's skin flushed a darker purple. "I propose this weapon be banned from use in any galactic conflict. It is unsporting." "Unsporting?" Ambassador Keela stood up. War Master Kryn offered the humans a challenge. They accepted. They won within all established rules. On what grounds can we ban a weapon simply because it works too well? The debate raged for hours. Some species saw humanity as a valuable potential ally. Others saw them as a dangerous unknown. A few saw them as a threat that needed to be controlled or eliminated. While the assembly argued, Hana and Jihun were brought before a military technology committee. The room was smaller but more intense. Alien weapons specialists bombarded them with questions. How does the targeting computer work? What are its power requirements? What are its limitations? Can it be countered? Hana answered patiently, explaining the basic principles without giving away critical details. We use relativistic physics and gravitational field analysis. The computer doesn't guess where a target will be. It calculates where it must be, based on its current trajectory and the laws of physics. But ships can change course. one alien objected. They can, Ji-hoon agreed, but every change requires energy. Every turn creates a pattern. Given enough time, the computer can account for even random, evasive maneuvers. It's just mathematics on how much time. Anywhere from 30 seconds to 90 seconds, depending on distance and complexity. The aliens looked at each other. One of them, a floating creature made of crystal, spoke up. That is an eternity in space combat. Any competent crew would destroy your vessel long before your weapon could fire. Perhaps, Hana said with a small smile. If they know what we're doing. If they realize they need to destroy us quickly. But if they think we're slow and helpless if they take their time. She let the sentence hang. Understanding dawned on several faces. The Taeguk's apparent weakness was part of its strength. Enemies would underestimate it, would take their time destroying it, would give it exactly what it needed. Time to calculate. The crystal alien's voice was thoughtful. A weapon that turns confidence into vulnerability. How very human. Later that evening, Captain Do-hyun returned to the Taeguk exhausted. The political situation was still uncertain. The Assembly had voted to grant humanity provisional membership, but the vote had been close. Some species were clearly unhappy. He was reviewing repair reports when Yuna entered his office. Her expression was serious. "Captain, we have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "Long-range sensors picked up something. Multiple ships moving in formation toward human space." Do-hyun felt his stomach drop. "Who?" "Viridian hegemony, 47 vessels, including heavy cruisers. And they're not following the standard trade routes. They're taking a direct path toward Earth." "How long until they arrive?" "At their speed?" "About 8 days. We'd reach Earth in 11 given our slower drive." Do-hyun closed his eyes. Of course, Vexthalan had been humiliated in the Assembly. The Viridian hegemony prided itself on military superiority. They couldn't let humanity's display of strength go unanswered. "They're going to attack Earth," he said quietly. "That's my assessment. The fleet's too large and too combat-focused to be anything else. They're going to hit Earth before we can get home, before we can warn anyone." Do-hyun opened his eyes and looked at his second-in-command. "Options? We can't outrun them. We can't fight 47 ships. We could try to warn Earth. But even at light speed, our message would only arrive hours before their fleet does. Not enough time to evacuate or prepare adequate defenses. So we're helpless?" Yuna shook her head slowly. "Not helpless. We have one advantage. They don't know if Earth has more ships like the Taeguk. They don't know if our planet is protected by a dozen weapons just like ours. But it's not. They don't know that for certain." Do-hyun understood what she was suggesting. "A bluff. Make the Viridian fleet think twice about attacking. Make them believe the risk was too great. Even if they believe Earth has more ships, they might attack anyway out of pride," he said. "Maybe. But we can make it more personal. We can make Vexthalan himself afraid. How?" Yuna smiled grimly. "We intercept them. We put the Taeguk directly in their path, and we show them that we can hit not just any ship, but the ship we choose. His flagship. We make him understand that we can kill him personally whenever we want." It was risky. Incredibly risky. The Taeguk was barely operational after the demonstration battle. Its weapon was depleted and would take hours to recharge, and they'd be facing a full battle fleet, not 3 corvettes. But what choice did they have? "Gather the senior staff," Do-hyun said. "We need to plan this carefully," as Yuna left to assemble the team. Do-hyun looked at the star charts on his screen. Earth was there, a tiny blue dot in the vastness of space. 8 billion people who had no idea alien fleet was coming for them. He thought about his old life again. His university office. His students. His quiet apartment. That life felt like it belonged to someone else now. He was a ship captain now, and his ship was about to do something either very brave or very stupid. Possibly both. Outside his window, repairs continued on the Taeguk. Sparks flew as welders worked on the hull. Inside, the crew moved with purpose, fixing what could be fixed. Working around what couldn't, they'd won one impossible battle today. Now they had to prepare for another. The galaxy had laughed at the slow human ship. They weren't laughing anymore. Now they needed to learn the next lesson. Humanity protects its own. Always. The Taeguk raced through space at its maximum speed, which meant it was still painfully slow. Behind them, the Galactic Assembly Station grew smaller. Ahead of them, somewhere in the darkness, a Viridian fleet was heading toward Earth with bad intentions. Captain Do-hyun stood in the command center, surrounded by his senior staff. Star charts covered every screen, showing trajectories and intercept points. "The Viridian fleet is here," Hana said, pointing to a spot on the map. "Moving at 60 times light speed. At their current course and speed, they'll reach Earth in 7 days and 14 hours. "And us?" Do-hyun asked. "At our maximum speed, we can reach this intercept point in 41 hours. She highlighted a different spot on the map. "It's along their projected path. If they maintain course, they'll pass through that point in 43 hours. 2 hours after we arrive," Yuna noted. "Barely enough time to prepare. If we're even a few minutes late, they'll pass us by," Ji-hoon added. "And then there's nothing between them and Earth." Do-hyun studied the map carefully. The plan was simple in concept but terrifying in execution. Position the Taeguk in the Viridian fleet's path. Calculate a firing solution for Vextalen's flagship. Fire a shot that would pass close enough to scare them, but not close enough to actually hit. Show them that humanity could kill their leader whenever it wanted. It was a bluff built on mathematics and psychology, and if it failed, Earth would pay the price. "Minho," Do-hyun said, "prepare a broadcast. I want it sent on every frequency, unencrypted. Every species in the galaxy needs to hear this." "What should it say, sir?" Do-hyun thought for a moment. "Say that the Taeguk is moving to intercept the Viridian fleet. Say that any hostile action toward Earth will be met with immediate retaliation, and include Hana's calculations showing that our weapon can predict fleet movements, not just individual ships." "Sir," Hana said carefully, "that last part isn't entirely true. The targeting computer can handle one ship with high accuracy. Multiple ships in formation is much more complex. The calculations would be—" "I know," Do-hyun interrupted. "But they don't know that. Let them wonder." The message went out 12 hours later. By then, the Taeguk was moving at full speed, its engines pushed to their absolute limit. Every system that could be spared was shut down to redirect power to the drive. The response was immediate. Within an hour, the message had spread across the galaxy. Alien news networks were broadcasting it constantly. Some called it brave, others called it suicidal. Everyone agreed it was dramatic, and somewhere ahead of them, the Viridian fleet received the message too. Aboard Vextalen's flagship, the command center was filled with activity. Officers moved between stations, checking weapons and shields. The fleet admiral himself stood at the center, his forearms crossed, staring at the tactical display. "The human ship is attempting to intercept us," his tactical officer reported. "I can see that. How long until we reach their position?" 41 hours at current speed." "And how long until we can simply go around them?" The officer hesitated. "Sir, if we alter course now, we add 3 days to our journey. The human ship might adjust its position to intercept us again." Vextalen's skin flushed with anger. One slow human vessel was dictating terms to his entire fleet. The humiliation was unbearable. "What if we don't slow down?" he asked. "What if we simply fly past them at full speed? Then we pass through their weapon range in approximately 4 seconds. Even if they fire, the probability of a hit at our relative velocities would be minuscule. And if they fire ahead of us? If their weapon is already in our path when we reach it?" The officer fell silent. That was the real question. The human weapon traveled at 15% of light speed, which was fast but not instant. But if they fired it along the fleet's approach vector, the fleet would fly into it. The Viridian ship's own speed would work against them. Analysis is uncertain, sir. Much depends on when they fire and what they target. Vextalen made a decision. "We maintain course and speed, but spread the fleet out. Maximum dispersal. If they fire, I want it to have the least chance of hitting multiple vessels." "Yes, sir. And if they do fire, then we destroy them and continue to Earth. One ship cannot stop a fleet." But even as he said it, Vextalen thought about the demonstration battle. One corvette destroyed in an instant. The humans had fired once and changed the tactical situation completely. Could they do it again? The Taeguk arrived at the intercept point with 2 hours and 17 minutes to spare. Every moment of that time was used to prepare. Ji-hoon ran constant simulations on the targeting computer. The fleet would be spread out, making calculations more complex. They'd be moving fast, giving less time to acquire a lock, and the Taeguk would only get one shot before the fleet was past them and continuing toward Earth. "I need to pick a target," Ji-hoon said, frustration evident in his voice. "The flagship is obvious, but it'll be in the center of the formation, protected by other ships. A ship on the edge would be easier to hit but less dramatic." "Hit the flagship," Do-hyun said firmly. "This is about sending a message. We need to scare Vexthalin personally. Sir, the odds of a clean hit on the flagship are less than 40%. Too many variables. Then don't hit it. Hit next to it, close enough that they know it could have been a hit. Ji-hoon looked up sharply. You want me to miss deliberately? I want you to almost hit. Can you do that? A slow smile spread across Ji-hoon's face. That's actually easier than hitting. I can calculate a near miss with about 90% accuracy. Do it, Hana approached with her own data. Captain, I've been analyzing the fleet's formation. If they maintain their current spread, Vexthalin's flagship will pass through this point. She highlighted a spot in space. Approximately 4 minutes after the fleet enters our maximum range. 4 minutes is a long time, Yuna observed. They'll be shooting at us the whole way. Let them shoot, Do-hyun said. Our armor held up before. It'll hold up again. Probably. Probably isn't very reassuring, sir. No, but it's honest. The hours ticked down. The crew ran through final preparations. Messages were sent to Earth, warning them of the situation but telling them not to panic. The Taeguk had matters under control. Do-hyun hoped that was true. 30 minutes before the expected intercept, Minho spoke up. Captain, incoming transmission from the Viridian flagship. It's Vexthalin himself. Put it through. The alien leader's face appeared on the screen. His expression was hard to read, but his voice was cold. Human captain, this is foolish. You cannot stop my fleet with one damaged vessel. We don't need to stop your fleet, Do-hyun replied calmly. We only need to stop you. Threats? You fired one lucky shot at a single corvette and now you think you can threaten an entire fleet. It wasn't luck. It was mathematics. And we can do it again. Your flagship will pass through our firing solution in 32 minutes. My weapons officer has already calculated your exact position. We can fire at any time. Vexthalin leaned forward. Then why haven't you? If you're so confident, fire now. Because we're not murderers. We're defenders. Fire on us and we fire back. Continue past us toward Earth and we fire. But turn around now and you can leave with your honor and your life intact. You're bluffing. Am I? Ask your tactical officers what happens if a 2-ton tungsten penetrator hits your flagship at 15% of light speed. Ask them if your shields can stop it. Ask them if your armor means anything against that much kinetic energy. There was a long pause. Vexthalin's eyes shifted, clearly checking with someone off-screen. My officers tell me the probability of you hitting my flagship at our relative velocities is minimal. Your officers are wrong, but let me make this easier for you. Do-hyun leaned forward. I'm going to fire one shot. Not at your flagship, near it, close enough that you'll feel it pass, close enough that you'll know the next one doesn't miss, and then you can make an informed decision about whether to continue. That's still a bluff. In a few minutes, you'll know for certain. Do-hyun cut the transmission. Bold move, Yuna said quietly. Now we have to make good on it, Do-hyun replied. Ji-hoon? Working on it, sir. The flagship is in the center of the formation, but I can calculate a trajectory that passes between it and the nearest escort vessel. Close enough to be threatening, but not close enough to accidentally hit. How close? About 150 meters, sir. Do-hyun whistled softly. In space, that was nothing. A rounding error. You're sure you can pull that off? 94% sure. The other 6%, well, I might actually hit them. And if you hit them? Ji-hoon's expression was serious. Then we start a war. The fleet would have no choice but to attack us and then continue to Earth. We'd have failed. The minutes crept by. The Viridian fleet appeared on their sensors, first as dots, then as actual shapes. 47 vessels spread across a wide area of space. In the center, slightly larger than the others, was Vexthalin's flagship. They're entering maximum range, Yuna reported. 3 minutes until the flagship reaches optimal firing position. Ji-hoon, start your calculation. Already running, sir. Tracking the flagship's position, speed, acceleration, checking for gravitational anomalies, calculating atmospheric density, everything. The Viridian fleet continued forward, not slowing. Some of the outer ships began to adjust their weapons toward the Taeguk. They're preparing to fire, Hana warned.